What's up, spell slingers and Highlander enthusiasts? Havoc here, and today I would like to present you with something a little new on this channel. Something that I've always wanted to see done in the EDH format. Now, we know that we have one of the most varied formats in all of Magic. EDH is where those weird, never-played cards find a home. It's where the 7+ CMC cards are welcomed and built around. In EDH, we have token decks and Voltron decks. We have control decks and burn decks. We have life gain and life drain decks. We have +1/+1 counters and -1/-1 counter decks. We have super friends and artifacts. Equipment spells find a home here, and decks with only enchantments aren't unheard of. And who doesn't love diving into a pillow fort or helping your friends out with a group hug? I love our format so much. You never know which crazy brew you could be matched up against. So we have all of these archetypes, but one of the greatest things is that we also have so many viable commanders in each of them. There's not just one token commander or one life gain commander. And it's like this for all of these archetypes. There's not just one, there are many. But are all these commanders created equal? That's what I look to answer on this new series on my channel called
The Top Commander.
In Top Commander, we will pit two commanders against each other in a no-holds-barred, knockdown, drag-out fight to the death. Okay, so maybe not that hardcore, but still, it's going to be a fight. But this isn't a setting for a fight. That's more like it. And now, introducing the 5-color big spell champion of the multiverse, hailing from the Thrawn Empire on the plane of Dominaria, the savior of Argoth and aid of the original Weatherlight crew, infused with the 5 great power stones and created by the Grand Artificer and Planeswalker Urza himself. It's Ramos, Dragon Engine. Ramos is a 6-mana legendary artifact creature dragon with flying and a 4/4 body. His text reads, whenever you cast a spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Ramos for each of that spell's colors, and remove 5 of those +1/+1 counters from Ramos to add white, blue, black, red, green mana to your mana pool. That's double Wooburg in shorthand. The idea here is to cast as many multicolored spells as you can and load up Ramos and then use his ability to cast pretty much any spell for 10 mana or less. If you're thinking, that's ridiculous, you're right. And now, the Challenger, a native of the Giva province and Tertiary Dominaria, the Ageless One, the Keeper of the Reflecting Mirror, the Restorer of Urza's sanity, and friend of Jorah of the Gitu. It's Jodah, Archmage Eternal. Jodah is a legendary creature human wizard for 1 and blue, red, white with flying on a 4/3 body. His text simply reads, you may pay Wooburg rather than pay the mana cost for spells that you cast. Jodah wants big spells, all of the big spells, because for him, they're all the same. With Jodah being previewed as coming out in Dominaria, it put me in a predicament. And these two are very similar in what they do. Both are 5-color commanders, and both want to cast the big stuff. They just do it in 2 different ways. But who does it better? And if you want to be in 5 colors and you want to cast big spells, who should you choose? Ramos or Jodah? We look to answer that on this episode of Top Commander. Round 1. Fight. In our first round, we look at the power level of these 2 commanders. Ramos is powerful, there's no question. Once you've played this deck and gone off placing the counters, swinging in for 10 commander damage, then casting a 10-mana spell, it feels pretty good. Now we could talk about the huge spells each deck has the ability to cast, but that's really not showing why one is better than the other. So what does Ramos have over Jodah? +1/+1 counter synergy. And in case you haven't been paying attention to Magic over the past few years, +1/+1 counters have been a big part of the meta, both in Standard and in Commander. Atraxa, the queen of +1/+1 counters herself, runs as this deck's lieutenant. Doubling Season can put an unbelievable amount of counters onto Ramos with just a few casts, Hardened Scales only accelerates this process. A Johnny, Mentor of Heroes, is the perfect planeswalker for a counter strategy, and Vorel of the Hulklade and Deep Glow Skate are our counter doublers. And if you didn't notice, you can only activate Ramos' ability once each turn. But if you want to activate it more than once, okay, just cast Sage of Hours to cash in on the counter synergy and take extra turns. Ramos is absolutely powerful on his own, but adding in these +1/+1 counter cards, you have a mana engine that can close out a game quickly. Now for Jodah, how do I put this lightly? Any spell for Wooburg. Any spell. No limit on how many you can cast a turn, whereas Ramos is limited by the one activation a turn. If you have the mana support, you could cast 2 or 3 10-mana spells a turn. Again, comparing apples to apples here, Ramos can easily get out an Ulamog pretty early. But imagine casting an Ulamog, a Progenitus, and an Avacyn all in one turn. I mean, how does anybody come back from that? It's pretty much game over at that point, right? And that's just 3 of the spells that this deck is chock full of, all of them nasty threats. Like his name suggests, Jodah is that glass cannon mage that can end the game out of nowhere, so I have to give round 1 to the Archmage Eternal. Round 2. Fight! Round 2 will put to test the resiliency of each commander. How robust are they? How open to removal are they? What evasion do they have? Now both of these commanders have flying, which is a form of evasion, and they're also without indestructible or hexproof. So both are going to want to be suited up with some additional protection like Lightning Greaves or Swiftfoot Boots. Or something like Gift of Immortality or Deadeye Navigator would make these guys a pain to kick back to the command zone. But there's one glaring weakness in these two commanders, and that's Jodah's 3 toughness. 3 toughness opens you up to a myriad of removal spells, and that cannot be overlooked. Add to this the +1/+1 counters that Ramos is putting on to make him much bigger and much more of a threat in combat. No mere lightning bolt or lightning strike will ever be able to take down the mighty Dragon Engine. And because of that, round 2 has to go to Ramos. Round 3. Fight! Round 3 is about reliability. And when I say reliability, what I mean is how easy is it to pull off what the commander wants to do in order to get a win condition. Now, in Jodah, the only limitation that I really see is that he is very mana hungry. Sure, you can play a 10, 11, or even a 12 mana cost spell if you find one you like, but they still cost Wooburg. So first you need to set up your 5-color mana base, and then amass more of it so you can potentially cast 2 or 3 huge spells in a round. In my first Jodah deck I put together, it has a lot of mana ramp. Much like a lot of the Spellslinger decks, they can only go as far as their mana can take them. So if you can set up a good 5-color mana base and stuff enough ramp, then this strat will work and it will be extremely volatile. Now for the Dragon Engine. How reliable is the +1/+1 counter machine, and how easy is it to set up? Well, if you played against a counters deck, then you know that there isn't just one card you have to worry about. Take out Doubling Season? Okay. There's like 5 more counter doublers in a tuned deck that they can go get. And unlike Jodah, Ramos isn't held back by how much mana you can produce. In this strategy, there are plenty of counters-based mana ramp that can kill 2 birds with 1 stone in this deck, and that makes it very dangerous and very fast. The Ramos deck has a lot of threats and can come at you from a lot of different angles. So who wins the reliability battle in round 3? I know this is lame and nobody likes a draw, but I really do think they're pretty even here. Let me know if I'm wrong, but that's kind of why I wanted this matchup in the first place. These two are so similar and yet so different, but equally dangerous, that I just had to showcase it here. So who is top commander of the 5-color big spells archetype? I can't really decide at this point, so I'll put it out to you. Who do you think wins this matchup and why? The great thing about these two is they both can go in each other's 99 and make them that much more potent. Ramos gives double Wooburg for Jodah to cast 2 spells pretty much for free. And it works pretty much the same way if Jodah was in the Ramos 99. And when it comes down to it, I really want to make both of these decks. Now I have some final tuning left to do on my Jodah deck. but I will probably be making a deck tech for that one soon too, because it's just such an interesting card that it demands attention. But that is true of a handful of legends in Dominaria that I have been brewing around since they were spoiled, and we aren't even done with preview season yet. If you liked this video and want to see more, please give me a like and a comment. It helps out a lot. And if you like my channel, give me a sub and tell your friends. I'm just 2 weeks into this journey and I am really having a lot of fun. Once again, my name is Havoc. Thanks for watching and we'll see you next time.